Hey folks, I had to work over the weekend, and as I was working, supplying the line, trying to get everything caught up, my phone and my watch buzzed with a text, and it was a text from Mom, and notifying me that, my Uncle Jim passed away. And I'm thinking Mom said, Uncle Jim passed away the weekend before, I think it was the weekend before this last one. And I think she received a notification from my sister Ellie. And she heard through the family grapevine or wherever that, Uncle Jim, passed away, and he indeed passed away, and as I was working and I had gotten that text, it's like, kind of a streak of sadness came about me, and just goodness, it was just, a hard pill to swallow. Yes, definitely a hard pill to swallow. I have not seen my Uncle Jim in eons, and the last time I actually saw Uncle Jim in person was early 1988 when we went to Illinois to, help round up my Grandma Reedy's possessions after my Grandma Reedy, had, passed away. And by the way, my Uncle Jim was my, biological dad's brother. But anyway, that's the last time I actually saw Uncle Jim in person, and I know that, Mom and my sisters took a girls' trip to Illinois, not Illinois, Texas, back in 2019. Well, the intention was, to visit my Aunt Pat, the rest of that side of the family, and also my Uncle Jim included himself in the rendezvous, so they got to see Uncle Jim in person as they mingled with the rest of the family. Some of you may be like, well, Sammy, what are you doing a tribute for your uncle that you haven't, seen in eons? And the answer to that is, yes, I have not seen Uncle Jim in eons. Except for back when I was on Facebook. Back when I used to be on Facebook, I did actually add Uncle Jim as a friend. And he, sent me a friendly post, and I sent him a friendly post, and we communicated on Facebook, a few times, but other than that, we haven't seen each other in person for eons, but even though I haven't seen Uncle Jim in person in ages, he still plays a good role in my nostalgia from back when I was a kid and back when we used to see him in person regularly, especially back when we lived in Illinois, and also seeing him in at Grandma Reedy's funeral. He still, plays a primary role in, my nostalgia. So, I believe that's, somewhat, worth of a tribute video here. A lot of these memories are interwoven, kind of together. When we lived in Illinois, I mean, Jim and Aunt Sue were still together, I guess some years before they separated, and they would come visit us at our Illinois home. We would go visit them, and whenever we would, like, go to, Grandma Reedy's house, I mean, he would join us in there too. So, I mean, it's kind of all intertwined. I mean, them, incidents. Gonna go ahead and start out, well, what I really remember the best. First of all, I mean, I remember kind of liking, Jim and Sue's Illinois home, and, just, we would go sit on the porch and all that. Sometimes I would sit there on the porch by myself, and my Aunt Sue would come out and had a ceiling fan on the porch and would pull the ceiling fan chain to turn on the fan to give me some circulation. And to me, I thought that was neat, because I mean, that was actually the first ceiling fan I ever saw in my life, and I remember just what the fan looked like. I mean, 4 blades, unique looking brackets and all that, and whenever we would go to Jim and Sue's house, I mean, sometimes we would get together there in their basement. They had a family den there in the basement, and the family would get together in their basement sometimes, and I kind of remember the ambience of their basement. And also, and Jim and Sue also, like, had a friend that would, like, meet down in that basement every Christmas like clockwork, dressed as Santa Claus, and we would sit on his lap and tell him what we want for Christmas. And my golly, I was young enough to, think that, that was a real Santa Claus, and, a real fascinating Santa Claus for that. And I recall, like, Uncle Jim would, wink at me, friendly, and he would also call me Sambo. I mean, Sambo was like his pet name for me. I mean, and of course, and he would wink at me friendly and all that, good stuff. And one of my favorite memories is, like, a boat trip on the, I'm gonna think it was a Mississippi River, because, I mean, my Uncle Jim had a boat with a trailer. It was like an outboard engine boat. Well, that was actually probably the first boat I ever saw in my entire life. And Jim and Sue would use their car to pull that boat to wherever they wanted to boat at. And of course, and I'm thinking at present day, how was that car powerful enough to pull that boat in the trailer? Of course, I guess, vintage cars were better, so to speak. And I remember, I think the car was like a navy blue color, and if I were to, pull up and concentrate on my memory real hard, I might, recall what maybe the hubcaps look like in the model of a car, but I'm a little bit too tired for that right now. But I mean, I think it was one weekend. It was me, Dad, my sister Jenica, and let's see, and Uncle Jim's boys, my cousins, and I know Uncle Jim, like, you know, has a son named Jake. But I don't think Jake came with us, and actually he may have been too young to join us, but I know for sure, I mean, Jason and Josh, you know, his boys, like, you know, joined us on the excursion. So, we found us a camping site, may have been multiple camping sites, and we may have stayed in a tent, and we would, like, you know, hang out in the evenings on them campsites, and we would spend the day, you know, cruising the river in that boat. And there was one time during the trip that the engine of the boat gave, you know, us trouble, and, you know, I think it was, like, you know, pretty frustrated with, you know, Uncle Jim to get that, you know, the mechanical problem sorted out, and I guess probably for my dad as well, because I'm thinking my dad may have, like, you know, helped him. So I also recall, let's see here, well, us fishing in the boat, and then Dad swung the pole, and the filament and the hook came in my ear. The hook caught in my ear, and boy, that was painful. And so I also recall, like, you know, I was on the boat with my eyes closed, like, you know, well, I think maybe trying to take a nap or whatever, and Jenica and Josh were telling me that I was, like, you know, fake sleeping. And then I think everybody, you know, I think Uncle Jim had the boat maybe docked near a shore. And let's see, and we got out and kind of swam and, like, waded, maybe somewhat swam in the water. And I'm telling you, like, you know, Uncle Jim, Dad, Jason and Josh, and possibly Jenica got real rambunctious with one another. Everybody was, like, you know, I think splashing water on one another, and also, like, you know, I mean, kicking the water, if I recall right, and, like, you know, just antics at the best with, well, kind of like, you know, the waterworks. I mean, it's just I mean, and Uncle Jim was especially on top of the world, and probably feeling even more rambunctious than, you know, us kids. I mean, just, you know, it just... And I guess there were a few times I stood back because it kind of scared me to see everybody that rambunctious in the water, including my Uncle Jim. But, you know, but I mean, as I jog my memory, I mean, they were just doing that, you know, to have fun in the water.